Good morning, Vietnam.
Holla at your boy.
How's everybody doing on this fine day?
On this fine, beautiful, kind of springy day, actually.
Yeah.
This day of days.
We are back.
Awesome.
We are doing another edition of That's Canon. We did one recently, and we're doing another one for you guys today. And we're really excited, guys. We're really excited.
Quite.
As always, the intro that you were hearing is Free Falling, which was produced by the one and only Abstract.
Toby, a.k.a. Abstract.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about who Abstract is? Give them a reminder.
Abstract is kind of like Moon Knight. He's my other personality.
Throwback to the last episode.
I produce beats under the name Abstract. I literally just take abstract sounds and put them together.
What was the other one? Is Abstract and what?
Abstract and my other alias?
Yeah.
186 beats, which I haven't started yet, but I did create my own SoundCloud for that already, just to kind of
the only reason I brought it up is because you legit are like Moon Knight when you have multiple. Which one's the Stephen Grant and which one's the Jake Lockley?
And I also got to confirm which one are you talking about.
Yeah. There's so many. That's awesome.
Man, that's amazing.
So guys, welcome back to another edition of That's Canon. Toby, as you just heard, is here, aka Abstract, myself, Brian Doc Holiday, and always joining us, the unofficial Franklin Armstrong Collective brother from another. Do you want to introduce yourself, homeboy?
It's Dave from Squared Idea. I'm currently writing Trinity with my co-writer Chris Nicholson, which you guys should definitely check us out on Patreon for. And I'm just here to give a bit of insight from a young comic book aspiring comic book writer.
Yeah,
trying to reach my dream.
Long-time reader. First-time writer.
Exactly.
There you go.
Oh, man, I wish that was supposed to be my line. No,
sorry.
We're starting it today, and we're actually, ironically, we're tackling a crossover book that is actually what actually inspired me to even start comic books, which would be the Teenage Ninja Turtles and Batman crossover, which is very ironic for me because they're both something that I watched as a kid and didn't know that they were comic books when I was a kid. And then I went into a store. I'm like, why are they on the store? I'm like, well, they were in comic books first. I'm like, what? Blew my mind. 5-year-old Dave there,
that's true.
jaw on the floor.
That's true. I didn't.
You say ironic in terms of you not knowing that they were comic books, but I say weird the fact that they're even in the same comic book.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to be touching on what the reason for them being in the same comic book is, because when you said, or you're the one who recommended this read, and you said we're going to be reading Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I thought he was joking at first. I thought he meant he wanted us to read a Batman and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic book.
Little did we know he meant Batman meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in some weird, crazy circumstance. You can go ahead and tell what the story is.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, Batman / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a DC IDW crossover written by James Tynion IV and art by Freddie Williams II. Let's go into the elevator pitch. This is straight from...
Those are two long names.
Yeah, I know, right? Might as well...
The fourth and the second.
Yeah, I know, right? Add up to 6, you get 6 characters? I don't know. So the elevator pitch, DC Comics. It all starts in Gotham City as a series of deadly raids leads Batman to believe he is against a group of highly trained ninjas. Somehow, the Foot Clan has crossed over to another dimension. But they haven't come alone. Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo are on their trails. Our take on the pitch, guys. I'm going to start this one off again. It's crazy. For me, I mean, I love the comics so far. I find it super interesting that they would take Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and cross them over with DC character, especially since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is supposed to be more a commentary on Marvel. Originally, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were supposed to be a reference to the Ooze. From what I understand, the story is that the Daredevil character, who gets that ooze that messes with his eyes and gives him those sensory powers. The ooze that he dropped is what turned his turtles into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or something like that. I might be wrong. Don't quote me.
Yeah,
but,
no, you're pretty much on the right path.
Yeah,
the ooze that gave Daredevil that blinded him is the same mutagen that actually created those Ninja Turtles.
That's the idea.
But they were. It's the idea, and I think they were a parody.
Yes,
first of all,
originally a parody. Yes.
In the same vein as Howard the Duck, for example. But something happened and they just took over. They latched onto our psyche as kids, and I don't know.
That's great. I didn't even know that, because I mean, if you look at the first Turtles, like the way that it's drawn is very mature, because like when you see them on TV for the first time, like back in the 80s, I mean, they couldn't be more like viewer friendly, and then when you see the comic book, you're like, this is pretty bloody and scary. I don't know if I want a child to read these things, so it's funny how it transitioned. But I didn't know that. That's actually a really interesting fun fact.
And that, so the links are like the foot is actually the hand, which is that's what the reference is. And then I don't remember what the other references were, but I know there are others. That there's like someone who made a list of all the references that are made and crossover. So I find it interesting that DC and IDW decided to do a crossover as opposed to Marvel. Maybe people felt that doing Ninja Turtles with Marvel would be too apt, too meta, if anything. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. So for me, the elevator pitch would be, you know, a crossover between a Batman story and a psychedelic fever dream. Because if you were in Gotham and you saw 4 giant turtles and a rat running around, you would assume that you got a little bit of Scarecrow's fear gas, and that's how I would pitch this to somebody.
Well, I wouldn't actually say. Oh, sorry, you told me first.
I was before you guys continue on that point. Going back to your point about how you would have expected Ninja Turtles to actually do a crossover with DC, with Marvel instead of DC.
Yeah.
You do also have to understand that DC and Marvel also share a multiverse.
Yes. I have all access. I have those whole that whole run.
Well, I guess it does. I mean, at the end of the day, anyone could cross over. And they also mentioned this, as we're going to dig into it, that they do come from another dimension, right?
Yeah.
So chances are they come from that Marvel dimension, and they just somehow happen in this DC dimension, right?
Or just a multiverse. If you're going to talk DC, if you're going to talk DC lingo, right?
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
Multiverse.
Yeah. I feel like I should have a monocle when you said that.
Yeah, fever dream. Yeah, for me, it's a Batman Gotham fever dream where a bunch of and I won't say it because we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but a bunch of Robins running around.
But I wouldn't even see it necessarily as that, because if I was someone walking down Gotham, I'd be like, so did Killer Croc get friends?
Oh yeah,
that would be more. That'd be more. I'd actually feel like it's like that. But
that's true.
To be honest, I'm not. When I heard of this coming out, I was actually not surprised, in the sense that they both, if you go down to like how they both came in initially. You know, and when I say initially for Batman, I mean more like when they start to make him more darker, not like, you know, the 1960s version or anything of Batman. The type of artistry that they both have is actually very similar, and they're both very dark backgrounds if you actually go to original Ninja Turtle comics. So it kind of makes sense that they cross over. It kind of reminds me a little bit about how they once did the Judge Dredd Batman crossover.
Okay. Right. Oddly enough, the Turtles do fit in the aesthetics of a Batman
exactly.
comic.
Yes, that's true. I will say that.
They do.
I'm not saying that the characters don't fit. I'm saying that as someone who doesn't understand what's going on, I would assume I'm high.
Okay. That I'll dispute. That I'll dispute.
And my take on this, just from the, like, I have to allow myself to be in a world where Batman is okay with this happening.
Yeah. That too.
Right? He's almost way too calm about it to me in terms of, you know, seeing these walking. Sure, there's Killer Croc, and Killer Croc is an anomaly.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other mutant-looking things running around Gotham like Killer Croc.
Yeah, there's in Gotham. The Flash has the shark.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but that's
King
not.
Shark.
So he knows of his existence, but also still, it's not.
No, there's enough. If we're gonna go about it, you have your freezes, you have Clayface.
Monster. I'm talking monster reptilian looking.
Yeah.
Well, I thought just monster. I mean, Clayface is pretty.
I get
I'm just saying he's seen this before. Is all I'm trying to say.
I see what Dave's saying. I guess.
Yeah. So you're right. Maybe it's not even just it's not Batman's world that's messed up. It's our world.
Yes, yeah. I was just gonna say, Toby. I was just gonna say the same thing. We as outsiders trying to read this are so used to a Gotham that doesn't have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running around that the idea of seeing them threw me off the first time because I was just like, why would you have 4 teenage turtles running around Gotham? Let alone
that's like when Urkel made an appearance on Full House.
Yeah,
old school.
Yeah,
old school
true,
90s
true,
reference.
True.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Dave, do you want to give people a little bit more rundown because you're a big fan of this?
I'm completely like I'll even do this spoiler. If you Ninja Turtles, if you like Batman, either separately or together, this is in my opinion a really good mashup. Mainly because first of all, the art styles completely complement each other, and one thing that's really cool is that they actually mesh the art styles. So I was wondering. I was trying to figure out. Are they going to do it more Batman, or are they going to do it more Ninja Turtles? And it's really an easy mesh of the two. And one thing that I actually like, and it's that I've tried to read crossover stories before, and sometimes people get really convoluted with trying to make everything tie in and whatnot. This was a very simple premise, which is like. The premise is like an average episode of like a Ninja Turtles episode where Shredder's just trying to take things over.
Yeah.
And then you have Batman, which is a regular Batman episode of trying to figure out what the fuck is going on and how do I fix this.
Yeah.
Basically what the 6 issues are, and it complements each other so well. And I don't want to get into because I know there's going to be other things that we're going to talk about, but like how the characters align and even the comparisons that you could give between other characters. And we already gave out like the whole potential Robin scenario. There's other ones that I'm going to bring up later on though.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so that's our elevator pitch DC Comics Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles DC IDW crossover. And now we're going to be going into our favorite segment that we do on the show. This one is called Judgment Call.
Judgment Call.
The main event of the evening. Judgment Call.
Do you have a timer, my good man?
I will have a timer.
So this week, Dave is going to be the judge, and Toby and I will be facing off on this edition of Judgment Call.
Going like chopping blood.
I don't know how I feel about going 2 episodes in a row, but
I'm just gonna get my stretch on.
I'll do my best to get my win in this one. I will avenge you, Cable.
So I'll digress with my comments.
Do you guys want me to go first?
I can go first. I don't mind.
Do we have to do another intro? I mean, if people are coming in for the first time, well. For people who potentially are hearing this for the first time. So this is Judgment Call, where we give 2 competitors a chance to fight for their character to be in the spotlight, so to speak. So with that being said, each competitor will be given 3 minutes to plead their case, and then once each competitor has given their 3 minutes and said what they've had to say, each competitor will then be given a minute to bash down, tear apart, destroy, or just plainly make fun of the other's mothers and trying to bring down their pitch. That being said, we'll do the Magic Toying class last time went to Toby, so I'm actually going to give it to Brian first time around this time.
Okay.
Let's do this.
With this being said, so your time... Are you ready, good sir?
I am ready.
Would you like to at least tell you before we start the timer?
Yes, that's true. Pitching? So, ladies and gentlemen, I will be presenting on behalf of the Creeper, the DC character who is probably the least respected DC character I've ever seen. But based on, and I own multiple trades. I'm one of the few people who find the Creeper to be one of the most interesting characters in the DC universe, and he gets no respect. He's not featured anywhere. He's never on any teams or anything, and I feel like he deserves a bigger spotlight. So,
all right, okay. So your 3 minutes, and I imagine, Toby, this is your chance of like going on the internet and trying to find all the trash talk about the Creeper. You have 3 minutes to do so. So your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everyone, so we're going to be talking about the Creeper, Jack Ryder, who is a journalist and a reporter. The Creeper starts off as a character who is, I guess, he's kind of like a Bill O'Reilly almost. He's kind of like a hot bag of pure gas, and he just you kind of just hate him. That's one of the things about him. You kind of just hate him early on. But one of the things that makes him so interesting is that because you hate him, you kind of want to root for him. Once he gets his powers and you find out that he is a reporter who's been, is just on the grind, but he is a wanted man by, those kind of underground people, criminals, the type that you would see in Gotham. Oh, by the way, he's from Gotham, meaning he's always constantly in the shadow of the Bat, the ultimate Gotham hero, and, the Bat's rogue of little boys that he's killed numerous times. Whereas the Creeper, not taking any sidekicks, by the way, not getting anybody killed, just pointing that out. If anything, one of the biggest things that I find interesting about the Creeper, and probably one of the reasons that within Gotham he doesn't get a lot of love, is he looks like the Joker. He has yellow skin, green hair. He's known for his homicidal howling cackle. And that makes a lot of people see him more as a villain than a freakish vigilante, which he is. He's never been kind of recognized to be on any teams. He's worked with the Outsiders, but that's as far as that's gone. And when it comes to his power set, guys, here's the thing. When you're talking about a character that has, the powers and the things, his special abilities are extraordinary strength, stamina, recuperative powers, and insanely fierce fighting style. He kind of fights like an animal when he gets into the ring with people, and that makes him super interesting as a character. And one of the things that I find, I gotta say, one of the things that's the most is people don't give the Creeper a chance because no one's ever written the Creeper properly. If you were to take the Joker, and I know they're doing that right now, the White Knight story, for example, where you have the Joker being a hero, but the Joker gets cured to be a hero. If you took the Joker at his core, the insanity and the craziness and the strength and the and stripped away some of the more violent tendencies and use that force for good, you get someone like the Creeper. And that's the thing. No one pays attention to someone like that. They all kind of see the face, the smile, they hear the cackle, and they assume, villain, I don't want to deal with him. And that's a mistake, because when it comes down to it, he deserves the spotlight because he has a lot to say and there's a lot of cool things that he could do. Also, for a hero in Gotham with that much power, like, he has similar powers to, like, I can't say a Wolverine, but no, he's not like a Wolverine, but he can jump. He has that stamina and strength, and he can do a lot of cool shit. That's all I'm saying.
Ooh, right at the buzzer. Right at the buzzer.
That's how I go.
Right at the buzzer.
I use my time, baby.
I can't wait to get at this guy.
The funny thing is, no one can see us because we're doing the podcast, but I could see Toby, and he's like salivating.
Yeah,
he's he's just like me last time. Like, you took on Gable. I'm going to lace. Okay, so do you want to just say who you're going to be doing? Quick before we.
So, I am bringing our guy from the first episode, Moon Knight.
Okay. Fair enough. Wants to do a throwback.
We just did a whole ep about why he's a character.
He's done his research, though. You can tell him that.
That's fair. I look forward to this.
Okay, so in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So just because we've talked about him doesn't mean anyone else is. All right. Now, who is Moon Knight? Real identity in quotes. Mark Spector. He's an American, obviously. He's I guess you would describe him, he's a living avatar of an Egyptian god. And that Egyptian god being Khonshu, the moon god. Moon Knight right now, as far as the story that we're reading, Lunatic and so on, is actually, like, I think, when I looked it up, apparently he's been the best iteration of Moon Knight as far as, like, artistry and creative writing. So I think that level of complexity in a character deserves to be shown to the world. Not in the form of a movie, though, because that wouldn't do it justice. I actually want to see a Moon Knight TV show. And the reason for that being, Moon Knight is kind of like, to me, he is a cross of kind of like Daredevil and Batman. There are similarities, obviously, and people are always going to draw that to Batman and all these things. And I think Moon Knight himself has a lot more to offer than that. There's religious implications in the actual comic graphic novel that we read. The only thing, and I'm going to go against him a little bit here, is it's a little gimmicky in the sense that, like, his weaponry. So if that's something that I would change if I was writing Moon Knight, is kind of just take him away from that Batman similarity a bit and not giving him like that boomerang, obviously batarang shaped sort of weaponry. His powers and abilities. At this point, he is, over the course of his life, has been a boxer, a U.S. Marine, a mercenary, superhero. He's skilled in hand-to-hand combat techniques, martial arts such as boxing, kung fu, judo, karate, ninjutsu, Muay Thai. Dude is an Olympic-level athlete and a skilled acrobat and a gymnast. He excels as comeback strategist. This is someone who's real. He's kind of like the Punisher. The Punisher got his fair due and his fair share of screen time recently on Netflix. So it goes to show you that a character like that can exist in this world that Netflix is creating or Disney's creating on TV. I would love to see a lot more of Moon Knight in that aspect of things. There's more than just a superhero movie here or TV show here. It's actually it's a real issue that people on the daily actually deal with. This is a real thing, and it's something that I think a lot of people would be interested in. If you saw the movie Split and you loved it, you would like Moon Knight as a character. I think that's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to say in terms of that, but I would like to see Moon Knight more in the mainstream, and just to delve more into his insanity and his multiple personalities.
Okay. With 10 seconds to spare. With 10 seconds to spare. Chill. All right, well, that's you got a bit of work on there. I'm going to tell you that much.
That's fair. I think
you learned from the last time.
It was very well done. Very well done.
Okay, so you have the chance, and keep it. You don't have to keep it PG. Put it as R as you want.
I'm going to stick to the facts, ladies and gentlemen.
And ready, set, go.
First things first. Who would I be watching? Would I be watching Spectre, Lockley, Grant, Moon Knight, some other character his brain might snap into? Who's saving the day when a hero doesn't know who he is, and he himself needs to be saved on a regular basis? Let alone in the last comic that we were just discussing. Granted, Jeff Lemire is writing by far one of the best versions of Moon Knight, but also writing a version of Moon Knight where we ourselves discuss we don't even know who the character is. He doesn't know who the character is. At the end of the day, the people around him who are trying to help him are either taking advantage of him or helping him. We don't even know. And that's the problem with Moon Knight. If you gave me a show and I got my 13 Netflix episodes, I don't want it to be like Iron Fist where every episode is me trying to figure out who are you? Because you just keep saying, I'm Moon Knight. I don't need that in my life. I need a story about a character who can do things. And also, one thing, his strength wanes with the strength of the moon, and unless you got a full moon, you got a weak character. That's all I'm saying.
He delves the werewolf card out. He gives out the werewolf card.
You root for him, you know? You get stuck in the first situation. All right, fine.
All right, cool. All right, so, Tobes, you good? You ready?
Yeah.
We're ready, set, go.
Yeah. What do you think of when you think of the word creep? What do women think of when they hear the word creep?
Fucking hell.
When I think of creep, and the creeper. First of all, you know the character in Jeepers Creepers, the movie, is actually called the Creeper, and he seems, from your description of what you call the Creeper, this guy in Jeepers Creeper actually seems more interested than this. I would rather see more Jeepers Creepers. Give me 30 Jeepers Creepers movies so I can see the actual real Creeper. Also, the Creeper was created by Steve Ditko for DC. Why? His best work is all in Marvel. So he gave DC his throwaway garbage. And that's what the Creeper is. Nobody wants to see a yellow-haired, whatever the hell he is, Joker-looking mother lover. Keep him in the sewers, exactly where he belongs in Gotham City. Deuces.
Oh, man. He didn't even take the whole minute for that. That was so on point. That was amazing.
Just shat on him. Well, we know who you're picking.
Okay.
That was so on point. Way to stay above the judge.
Okay. No, okay. Give me a second. I'm gonna judge this properly. Okay, first of all, you both did bring up good points. Gonna slightly take away some demerit points to Toby because we did take a whole episode to discuss. So you're gonna start at a bit of a minus. I'm gonna give Brian that. I'm gonna give you start at a bit of a minus.
Do research.
One thing though, Brian, you brought up a lot of good points. Like it's basically the Joker being like how he'd be like a good guy. I know the Creeper a little bit. he's been before he was turned into the creeper, he was like the thorn of Batman in like a negative space, journalistic wise.
Yeah, exactly.
So I could see how a lot could be taken out there.
Yeah, that's why I said he's like a Bill O'Reilly in that way.
Exactly. Then as Toby was saying, there's a lot of assets that you can go through. There's a lot of things that you could delve into. There's a lot of and I like that
different characters.
Exactly. And I like that you said not a movie, a TV show, because if you would have promoted movie, you would have lost me. The fact that you said a TV show, I think it's smart because you could delve into the psyche. And I'm actually going to say, Brian, part of your rebuttal as to why not is actually why I would want to see him on TV, because I think he would do great with the Netflix TV shows. If you gave me a season of just trying to figure out what was going on, I actually think that would be interesting, because I think you have enough to delve into that while still creating a story arc. And the one thing that I will say, one thing that's also weighing my opinion, is that I have heard of the Creeper before. In other, like, he's been on TV before. He's been in Batman the Animated Series. He's been in a few other animated things as well. Whereas Moon Knight has actually more or less never been anywhere,
except for the comic. Yeah,
except for the comics. I think maybe Moon Knight was once in a video game. Where I'll give Creeper has never been. No. That being said, though, Toby did kind of destroy you with his rebuttal.
Yeah. Even I have to.
I saw he looked like he lost. Like when you were talking, you just saw him if he was
Ditko created him. It was his throwaway character. I was like, good God.
I was like, damn. That was like the whole rusty metal thing that I said against the table. Unfortunately,
that's fair.
Due to the fact of the a bit more exposure for the creeper, and the fact that I think a lot more stories could be said with Moon Knight. And also the fact that I don't like that you compared the Creeper to Wolverine. I'm just going to throw that out there. You made that little...
I'm saying in the sense of his, like, who would you compare him to on a level with, like, he has a healing factor, because when he first turns into the Creeper, he was shot and he heals. He has stamina, strength, and he goes into like a berserker mode when he fights. His fighting style is just animalistic. That's why I compared him to Wolverine.
He's more Blanca than Wolverine, though.
Oh, you little bastard!
See, you're taking your good points away. He's still doing it.
You're still attacking.
So
you won, okay?
So the cannon, is this the one where we say it's the cannonball and you're the cannon fodder? Is that?
No,
that's the other one. No, that's the other segment. So no, reigns to Toby. Toby took it to the hoop. He dunked it. He broke the glass.
There you go. He takes it. That's fair. That's fair.
All right.
Oh, God. So hurt. But that was our segment, Judgment Call. If you guys ever have suggestions, you can always hit us up. On you can tweet at us at A Strong Franklin. And on Twitter, or you can hit us up on Vero. We're under Franklin Armstrong Collective. Going into our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, this is the review of Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, DC IDW crossover. This is the first one, by the way, because they do a second one.
Yeah, the second one's coming out this year.
Oh, really?
It's 2018. I'm not sure if it's potentially already started. Maybe it started at the end of December. I just know that the next one is, whereas this one was like more Shredder, and not to give anything away, but like it's Ra's al Ghul on the Batman side. This side, it's going to be on the second one at least. It's going to be a Bane, from my understanding. I only saw a cover, so that's all I saw.
So let's start off. Since you read most of it, unfortunately, Toby and I had to admit that we did not have a chance to fully delve into Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as we should have for this, and I do apologize for that.
Quite right.
But if anything, that turns this into an opportunity for us to give you our first impressions of it, and for you to knock it home. So the layup to the dunk. So maybe I should start then in that case, because you've so my first impressions, as I mentioned, Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to me came across a little bit as a fever dream, but like Toby and I mentioned earlier, that comes down more to the fact that as DC readers and as Marvel readers reading this crossover, it kind of seemed like, why the hell are there Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like tall reptiles running around Gotham City? Because weirdly enough, Gotham being the crazy city that it is, for some reason it still seems weirder to have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running around, which it shouldn't. We should, and I mean, Dave was right. It's something we should just accept because it's Gotham. You have Freeze, you have Killer Croc, you have a woman who turns plants into deadly creatures. Why would Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Penguin.
Yeah, you have a guy named Penguin. Yeah, I mean, who looks kind of like a penguin. He's a disgusting human being, by the way. But I mean, all those things considered, it shouldn't be shocking. But I guess because of how we've read DC in the past, it was a little shocking to me. So the first few issues that I read, it was trying to get over my assumptions about DC. Because this story is set in Gotham, so it felt more like the Turtles coming to DC than it did like equal crossover. I mean, I've read the Avengers meet the Transformers, and that one felt like an actual blending because the Cobra ends up working really well with the Decepticons in an almost like perfect copacetic.
Interesting. So this kind of was similar to when CW does a crossover and each character goes to the different universe for the other one. So yeah, I get that. Yeah, so it's not like a mesh. It's more like you're going from your world to the other person's world.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But for me, when I'm reading this story, I prefer stories where it feels like things have meshed together than people have been transplanted. And I mean, but
it takes you out of it a little bit.
Little bit. But I mean, the story is about them physically being transplanted. They're in another dimension. So the story is that Shredder and crew, the Foot, have ended up in Gotham City. They are breaking into different labs, like R&D labs, to steal technology to try and find their way back to their dimension. And the Ninja Turtles ended up with them in Gotham. And from that story, Batman, who is, obviously the protector of Gotham, is trying to figure out why these labs keep getting hit. And in the first issue, the first panel, the story is being told to Batman by a young woman who was at Power Industries, who was there when the first assault happened. And she describes the Turtles to Batman, which then leads him on a hunt for who are these monstrous creatures.
Yeah, she describes them as monstrosities. Pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah, so, sorry, Tobes, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I'm in the same, the same lane, the same route as you in terms of how it feels. Mm-hmm. I still have a hard time letting go when I'm reading this. In terms of like, okay, do I allow it to be a Turtles world or a Batman world? And it's kind of like you said, there's no real mesh, so I do have to understand the Turtles. Okay, to make this work for me, I had to be in Batman's world, and which is what the Turtles are in. But when I say in Batman's world, I mean like in the reading state of mind for a Batman comic. Yeah, because it's not as jokey. Although they try to insert jokes here and there with the Turtles, it's still kind of serious. Yeah. They use Raph's anger a lot more in this. Actually. Yeah. To kind of keep you grounded in Gotham. They try to insert Mikey's humor in there, like Mikey and who was
Donatello.
And no, Mikey and Leo are so enamored.
Oh yes, it's true. Yes. With Batman,
they're so enamored with Batman. It's actually kind of weird.
I find that Leo, though, it's more of like a respect thing.
Yeah. I see. It's
more like
because at one point Batman gives an order and Leo's like, "Yes, sir." And Raph is like, "What, sir? Why are you saying sir?" So yeah, they but the reason why Leo actually, I think, is at the fortress, I guess the Batcave, to them, they saw like all the cool gadgets and equipment. So you can tell they're still kind of kids too. They are teenagers.
Yeah, true.
They're supposed to be forever teenagers. So you could see like the Robins you guys mentioned earlier in passing. They are sort of like, they want to be almost sidekicks to this Batman character. It feels like they'll do anything just to be cool like him. And the whole from the beginning, ever since they met Batman, all Mikey could say was, "Oh man, how freaking awesome is that?"
Well, he does the chart, right? Like, is he a bad guy or is he a good guy? But how cool is he?
Yeah, exactly. He does that. Yeah, he goes on the board and he puts pros and cons of why he's a good guy and cons against him, and the pro outweighs the cons still. Yeah. So it's kind of cool later on when you see them team up and him almost like, it's weird. He's like meeting his real life hero that he never knew he had.
Yeah, exactly. He got to meet him.
So, I mean, there definitely are a lot of great aspects to this. It's kind of an intriguing crossover. but I did enjoy what I read so far.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I'll say, and again, like, and I said it a few times, I'm obviously biased when I was reading it, but when I didn't come through the spectrum that you guys were looking at, like in the sense of like, oh, how is this going to mesh? I was like, you know what? I take the same approach whenever I watch a movie, a TV show, or whatever. To me, it's, are you true to the characters? And one thing that's sometimes hard when you're doing crossovers is that someone will not be at all who they regularly are. And I thought that one thing that they did was on point for this whole thing is Batman was Batman, Raph was Raph,
True.
Donnie was Donnie, Mike was Mike, Leo was Leo, and Splinter was Splinter. Splinter was always a teacher
and a teacher. Yes,
you know, even to Batman he was a teacher.
Yes, I agree with that.
And then Batman, it makes sense that he would be a father figure ish to them because they are the younger ones, and that wasn't taken away.
Oh, kind of like how Nightwing is to Robin's.
Exactly.
Okay,
you know what I mean.
I don't know about father figure though. That's kind of a strong.
No, like older brother,
like you know.
Yeah, exactly. Because
a role model.
Is this? I don't know because I'm not really into the
IDW
Turtles lore as much these days as I should be. But do they actually call Splinter father this much?
Yes, they do. They call him master, and when they're in emotional states, they call him father.
Yeah,
father. Okay, interesting.
Yes. So that I did know. Yeah.
So like the one thing for me when I was like reading this, I was like, are you going to stay true? And I find first of all the dialogue for all the characters I just named completely on point. The Turtles don't lose their inner roles within the team. And they are still able to be a role towards Batman. And there's a lot of interesting similarities. Like at one point, I remember you guys were saying, and this is something we had a conversation off camera. Oh, I can't believe the Turtles got dubbed by Batman in a fight. But if you think about it, because if you think about it, every time they fight the Shredder for the first time, they lose, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that you'll learn later on is that Ra's al Ghul gets into the mix. And in this way, how they draw it, they're literally parallels at this point. Like, the Turtles could be seen as Batman, and then Shredder is the equivalent of Ra's al Ghul. And then at the end, the Turtles are able to beat Ra's al Ghul in a fight, which is just like how all the other Turtle movies are. It's like, we'll lose our first fight against an individual and then, like, get better.
Yeah.
And then Ra's al Ghul has always been considered the equivalent of Batman. So if they got beat by Batman, then they beat Ra's al Ghul.
He's the Beast, isn't he? Like he's
the Demon King.
The Demon King. Yeah, he's known as the best fighters in the world regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, when you live that long, also. Sorry, Tobes, go ahead.
You play Shredder and Ra's al Ghul on the same level, though.
I would if you compared their universes, right? Because I'm not saying that they fight them. Okay. I'm saying, like, if you take the universe of the Turtles and compare it to the universe of Batman, that's where you would see the equivalencies. Other things that I thought were really...
I mean, you could see that in when Shredder comes to town and already just wants to take over.
Yeah,
literally already has Penguin, everyone falling in line because he's that much better than they are. So
and
I could definitely see that in their universes, how they are comparative.
Plus, one of the things with Shredder, and I mean, to continue the comparison, he has, instead of the League, he has the Foot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the advantages that Shredder has coming into town. Yeah. He has an army, so when, Penguin has his little boneheaded henchmen, who turn on him very quickly from what you see. There's no loyalty there. That's the other thing. When you see that Killer Croc is paid out these villains to try and steal a piece of the Batmobile, and the guy goes, we better get paid. We left a good gig with Penguin for this, and you're like, there's no loyalty among thieves. Whereas with Shredder, the Foot would die for him.
Yeah, I think one actually kills himself in one of the issues. When he's being
they're regularly willing to die for him, and that's that. And the League, those members would. So I see the comparison even on that level.
The Foot Clan ninjas are kind of like stormtroopers in that way.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, and like, not to spoil it, guys, but eventually Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins do team up with Shredder and the Foot Clan, and it becomes a very interesting story arc. And the only thing I thought initially was weird is, like, how did Shredder get here? And then you find out later on that Krang actually threw him through the portal that usually puts him in Dimension X, and that's why he's here. I'm like, that is amazing, because everyone knows that Krang and Shredder don't get along.
No.
So the fact that that's the reason why he's here makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like, one thing
is team up for the ultimate goal, but Krang kind of now, the fact that he got rid of him, he's looking to take over.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's one of those things. It's like, when I was reading this, one thing I thought was really interesting, and again, being a super fan of both things being meshed up, is the simplicity of the storytelling is exactly what it needed. Like, you didn't need to make something convoluted and anything. They're here, they met, we have to beat somebody, and how they did it really worked, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a classic. Like,
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, And what you're describing still works as instead of meshed, it's just one on top of the other, but it's still the idea of good guys, bad guys. What are you guys doing? Not that we don't like it. It's illegal. It's dangerous. It will harm people. So we, the good guys, are going to work against you, the bad guys, and we're going to take care of business. And
also the cameos that they do later on, because you see Arkham at one point, and the cameos that they give the Batman characters, very minimum time, but every Batman villain that's given, you're like, that was the essence of that character.
Yeah.
The Joker, even at one point, he's talking to one of the orderlies or the psychiatrists in Arkham, and he's like, I hear there's a big party going on. I really can't wait to join. I might kill some of your guards on the way out. Like, the Joker, ironically, is really on point through the whole thing, and he's given 10 lines.
Yeah.
And even at that, he's like, once this fight's over, he basically, and this is not the exact quote, but he's like, once this fight's over, I'm just going to kill those guys and take over what they did.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally sitting back and watching the world burn, which is like, you couldn't get more Joker than that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It makes you realize that Batman's motives in this are also kind of selfish, because Ninja Turtles show up in your town, fine. I can deal with that. Maybe train them to become my Robins again, But then you have Shredder, who, if he stays in this world, that's another top tier villain that I'm gonna have to deal with as Batman. So I do need these turtles not to revert back. Oh, another thing to mention is if they stay in this dimension for too long, they actually revert back to being actual turtles.
And they're the only ones affected because they have the mutagen. Because it's because of the mutagen specifically. I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just trying to add specific because of the mutagen.
Right, the mutagen inside the turtle. So Splinter and the Turtles will go back, but Shredder and the Foot Clan will still remain.
Yeah.
So Batman is actually needs the Turtles, or needs all the help he can get at this point, which is only the Turtles apparently.
Where's your Justice League, Batman?
defeat Shredder in this situation. So once you actually understand and kind of see the story for what it is, and like you said, this was simple enough as a plot for it to work.
Yeah.
Any more convoluted or any more complicated, and it would would have taken you out of it completely. So this is a very, very fun read because of that.
Yeah.
And I just want to do two quick pros and cons. The only cons I really saw out of this, how the Turtles ended up getting to the Batcave was a little weak. They just went through tunnels.
Yeah,
I'm like, how did no one figure this out first?
Splinter just you almost used his rat nose.
Yeah,
I can smell it.
And this is just a personal pet peeve. They actually have my most hated Batmobile in this. It's the one that looks like a cat.
He's
ugly.
A
bat.
Terrible.
He's not a cat.
Yeah, it's so ugly.
But the high marks I'll give this. Love Michelangelo's comedy. I thought one thing that was cool about this is that it was sprinkled on perfectly. I love his interactions with the Batcave and all the toys. His interaction with Alfred is great.
Yeah.
The robot butler.
Yeah, exactly. The robot dinosaur and everything.
There was another scene where they were getting attacked on the street, and then he runs into the pizza store to warn.
Citizens! There's a man in a bat suit attacking us!
And they're freaking out because he's a big turtle that just walked through the door. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You're the person who's scary.
That was great.
So I think that was really done well, and I really liked an arc a mini arc within it where Raph was really questioning who Batman was.
Yeah.
And you're just some rich boy in a bat suit, and then Batman does the whole my parents died and all that stuff, and just how they did it, I'm like, this is so. It's like they had a Leo and Raph skit, but they replaced Leo with Batman. I was like, this is great.
I have an issue with Raph at times, and I did have an issue with Raph in this one at times because of just how gung ho and he just doesn't think. You don't need someone like that on your team. He's a liability. I know he's probably one of the strongest on the team. But he is the strongest on the team, but he's a liability because look, he almost got himself killed by going to attack Shredder on his own and getting his artery, one of the main arteries in his arm, cut open and almost bleeding to death. Right, so this is. But I do recognize that and that scene that you were talking about.
For me, one other thing that I liked that I found very interesting was the Batman is dealing with the death of his family anniversary, and that Alfred is trying to explain to him, you never actually deal with it. Every year it comes by and you find a way to distract yourself with a project, and lo and behold, you're so blessed that this time it just so happens that large turtles, Ninja Turtles, show up, and you get to just kind of put that to the side. I thought that was
normally the large project is making a new suit or making a new ship or something.
Flamethrower, the Intimidator, So I found it interesting. It was well done.
Yeah.
It's a good reference, and it's a reminder that he doesn't deal with the death of his parents very well. Anyway, sorry.
And one last thing, and this is the last pro I'll give it, and this is purely for the people who really like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
In the third issue, about at the halfway point, Splinter's re-encountering what's going on in their universe.
Yeah.
And there's this amazing splash page where you see all the villains lined up, and in the background, you have a classic Ninja Turtle pose, which is them like on the roof, and they all have their weapons out. They redid, and it's a very famous cover. I think it's like cover 1 or 2 of the actual Ninja Turtles volumes, like out of the first ones, and they redid it with this art. It's one of the things, like I saw it, I looked at it for like
that's cool.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Boss, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
So yeah, that's the review, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be going into our next segment. This one is called Non-Canon. We like to take characters that we felt, we like to team up characters that we felt would almost never interact within their own universes, and then put them up against a team that they would almost never cross them over with. Speaking of crossovers. So in this one, we've decided to put Lobo, most famously known as a Superman villain, I would say, Lobo and Rorschach versus Carnage and Moon Knight. Just the idea of Carnage and Moon Knight makes me think, what the hell? Never happened. If anything, it would just make Moon Knight think he's crazier if he saw some red symbiote thing.
Look at the people you're pitting against each other, and actually the first question to ask is, can they function well enough as a team in the first place to actually defeat the other team?
Yeah, this is like not canon, the insanity version.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm going to take a stab at. So in the story, because the way we usually play it out is we explain why we think one team would win over the other, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say I think that Carnage and Moon Knight might actually have an advantage if because Moon Knight's mind is weaker, something that he admits regularly when he talks to Khonshu, and he has a weak mind. He is a broken person. Carnage takes advantage. That symbiote specifically likes to take advantage of weak minds. So the last time, because Carnage is on Cletus, I think.
Yeah.
And most recently, funny enough, he's on Norman Osborn.
Oh, no way.
In the comic book. Recently, he's been... Norman Osborn has the symbiote. So Carnage likes broken minds because it makes him stronger in the sense that he can take advantage of the mind and have more control. And I feel like...
Take over completely.
Yeah, he can take over completely. And I feel like Carnage, with the... taking advantage of someone like Moon Knight, who has the abilities, the skills, the fighting skills, and there are aspects of Moon Knight that might be willing to do things that are questionable, and Carnage will take advantage of those weaknesses and fill in the gaps with his symbiote, and just someone like Lobo's amazing, huge healing factor. I understand,
yeah, no, completely
one drop
regenerative.
of blood.
Yeah. He's essentially immortal.
Yeah,
that's a caveat that I was going to mention earlier.
Yeah, so
which makes him a crazy equal, almost in a sense, to Superman, right?
Yeah.
And okay, yeah, go ahead.
And in this situation, because Lobo and Rorschach probably don't know, I mean, they wouldn't know Carnage's weakness, which is still ultrasonic.
It should be sonic. Yeah, something like that.
Which in either of Lobo or Rorschach's, utility belts, let's say, quote unquote, that's just the idea of what they carry with them. They don't have access to that immediately. This essentially would just turn into a fight between, because I'm sorry, Rorschach, as great as you are, you're dying pretty early on in this fight. In a fight where Lobo and Carnage, who has put the symbiote over Moon Knight, is fighting, Rorschach is not doing much. He as great a fighter as he is, as ruthless as he is, as far as he's willing to go, in this scenario, Carnage has taken over Moon Knight and is attacking.
In your version.
Yeah. Like this. Yeah, so for me, I'm not even sure who would win, but I see it going down to Carnage on the Moon Knight with the Carnage using a Carnaged Moon Knight fighting a Lobo while a dead Rorschach lies on the ground. And
I will add on to one thing, because the whole reason why Carnage was created, right, is that the Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
Actually, because Carnage is essentially, that symbiote is the baby of Venom.
Yeah,
it's actually because they're I forget the term when you don't need to, like, when you're
well, you can just split, like,
yeah,
worms?
They don't need to mate in order to have a.
I'm not sure, but yeah,
I would imagine that the Carnage would be like, oh, this is another person. I would just create. I'd allow my offspring to. That's what I would think, instead of necessarily bonding.
And so I would add here, since we're just going to just go around the round table here in terms of this this matchup, I think Lobo, you mentioned before that they wouldn't know the weakness or how to find Carnage's weakness.
I think it would be hard.
It would be hard, but Lobo is at times has actually been seen like genius level intellect.
He does.
Yeah, but
it's been proven he does, actually.
He's created like viruses and antidotes to the viruses. Like, he's actually a pretty smart dude despite his like loudish, violent nature.
The only reason I'm concerned about that is it took Spider-Man forever and by accident to realize ultrasonic sound hinders the symbiote.
Spider-Man does fall into things a lot by accident, though, so I wouldn't take that as a general thing that a lot, like, someone could solve that way quicker than Spider-Man. He's a kid, right? He kind of gets ahead of himself a lot.
To add on to Toby's point, what is Lobo by trade? He's an intergalactic bounty hunter.
Yeah,
it's his job to know how to trap and kill people.
Oh,
who's to say that wouldn't take?
Where did Carnage come from?
He's out of space. Yeah, he might even know about it before he even got to Earth.
Exactly.
Whoa. The whole premise of Not Canon is they've never met. Now you guys are saying he may have seen him.
No, but
I'm basing it on if they've never met and you're fighting this guy, the idea of ultrasonic sound being the weapon that you figure out to use in the middle of battle might be hard to come across.
I'm not saying they've met, actually. I'm saying Lobo might know of what a Carnage is. Like that,
the symbiote.
He might know what a symbiote is.
Right, he might know what it is because he's from outer space. He's intergalactic.
Plus,
been to different dimensions.
Okay.
So,
he's already been proven to be resourceful. Who's to say that he doesn't have a log somewhere where he's like, okay, there's this. Is there not a chronicle somewhere in my files about such a being?
Yeah.
You know what's funny about this whole thing? Is that we are not even discussing Rorschach and Moon Knight at all.
Because I mean, Moon Knight to me gets taken over by Carnage, and Rorschach can't.
Which would be in the right scenario, I think. Anyway,
But even if you went Rorschach to Moon Knight, I think that's a pretty even pairing. I think it would just be who slipped on a banana peel. Basically, would determine who would win out of these two. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think it doesn't matter who would win initially. At the end of the day, Lobo will win, because I'll throw out two scenarios. There's a scenario where Rorschach brutally kills Moon Knight, then gets destroyed by Carnage, and then Lobo kills Carnage. Scenario 1. Scenario 2, Carnage and Moon Knight kill Rorschach. They eventually kill Lobo. There's a drop of blood on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Lobo will get up at one point in time, figure out how to kill them, find them at night, and brutally murder them, because he is that crazy vengeful. And he's that vengeful, and he has the intellect to be like, I went about this stupid the first time, second time, put like a little boombox beside them while they're sleeping, gets the thing off, traps it, kills the two guys. And I think that's how it
he's immortal. The fact that he's immortal would allow him multiple chances at survival.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I go with the Lobo.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, for me, it was more an issue of, I think Lobo and Carnage would just end up fighting each other.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
Carnage is going to try, and if Carnage wins, like, Carnage kills Rorschach, he has Moon Knight as the
symbiote.
He's the symbiote, but what's it called? The host. Yeah, he has Moon Knight as the host. He sees how powerful Lobo is. He's gonna want Lobo as his host.
Oh, for sure. But I don't think Lobo would have. I don't think the symbiote would be able to attach to Lobo because he's too. Because like I actually researched this because he has another reason why Lobo would win if he was actually in a position where he thought he was. Lobo actually has a red lantern ring that I didn't know about.
He carries a rage ring?
He did something for the red line. This is something I figured out, like, trying to prepare for this. The things I didn't realize is that he'd regenerate from a drop of blood.
Yeah, that I knew. Yeah.
I knew about the strength, the healing ability. I didn't realize that he was super intelligent, which, ironically, Toby was citing the reasons why he's super intelligent, being able to, like, defend against disease and whatnot. But apparently he did some type of favor for, I think, Atrocitus, which is one of the leaders of the Red Lanterns, and in doing so, he gave him in a box a Red Lantern ring. And if you're saying
this was during the Brightest Day storyline.
Oh, was it? Okay, I missed it. But if you're saying that, I mean, imagine Lobo. Like, if you put Lobo with a Red Lantern ring, that's the equivalent of this if he had symbiote on him. In which case, you're saying Lobo with symbiote Red Lantern ring powers against
Lobo and Sinestro in one.
Against just a Carnage. I'm sorry, it's over.
That's fair. Yeah, so guys, tell us your opinions. Once again, everything we do, we want you guys to give us feedback. So
please do
hit us up on our Twitter and on our Vero social media apps. Once again, that's A Strong Franklin on Twitter and under Franklin Armstrong Collective on Vero. So into our final segment, final thoughts.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go.
I just realized we didn't really state our actual picks real quick, so I'm actually going with the Lobo team.
Yeah, I should that.
Oh,
I was more than obvious.
I thought we made it clear. I still think Carnage in the end. But
okay.
Like I said, I think if anything, Carnage is going to take advantage of being a symbiote and just try and spread himself over everyone. And yes, even if he's going to have a hard time going after Lobo, he's a symbiote. The same way that Lobo comes back from one drop of blood is the same way the symbiote comes back from one speck.
So does that mean would this actually then this, in my opinion, would result in just an internal?
I pretty much thought it would be
an internal battle between Lobo and Carnage.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
They'd be the new devil and God, you know.
I really do. In my scenario, it comes down to those two pretty much just going at it forever because one comes back from a drop of blood, one comes back from a drop of the symbiote. You'd have to
decide to just, you know what, you take this half of the world out together. Yeah. Just don't ever cross boundaries. We'll never beat each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. And again, if anyone wants to make comments, I love debating. If anyone were to make comments on the website, I'd be interested to hear them.
Okay. And Tobes, do you have anything else you want to add? No,
that's it.
So, final thoughts, guys. Who wants to go first? Final thoughts on this?
I'll let Mr. Cozio go first.
Thank you. Well, I mean, honestly, I would give, if you're a Batman, let's start with the biased opinion first. If you're a Batman fan, pick it up. If you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, pick it up. If you like both of them, stop listening to me right now. Go online, get it, or go to your local comic book shop.
Always go to your local comic book shop.
Yeah, you should always go to your local comic book shop. As for giving this to someone to read, I think it'd be something easy that anyone could read, whether you are a comic book fan or a non-comic book fan. And the fact that there's a background, like in the sense that everyone's heard a little bit of Batman and everyone's heard a little bit of, I think it's something that I would recommend to almost anybody.
Yeah, that's
the only thing, maybe not kids, because there was like some
a little bit of violence,
stuff, but other than that, I think it could be 12 and up. Okay. 12 and up.
And on 10?
On 10, 9.5. Like for me, I really like it, but again, I say that with a caveat of excessively biased.
That's right.
And for this, they hit all the things I look for. They hit all the things I look for in Turtles, and they hit all the things I look for Batman. I cannot argue it.
On my end, I think the writing, I got to give it up to James Tynion IV. With a name like that, you expect to be a good writer.
Or a Game of Thrones character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every time I see his last name, I want to say Tyrion.
Winter's coming.
But yeah, I mean, the writer really takes, and we've said it, for me, the story comes across more as a fish out of water situation than it is, a mesh. But that's not necessarily a bad thing in this story, because what it does is it takes the best parts of the Turtles, the best parts of Batman's universe, and kind of puts them in one playground, Batman's playground. And I mean, if ever there's a crossover where Batman ends up in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle world, which I'm thinking they probably will want to do at some point, that would be interesting too. And like Toby said it earlier on, when you see these characters playing in someone else's backyard, it's an interesting story just in itself. That in itself becomes very interesting. And to what Dave was saying, yeah, I mean, if you're the type of person who loves, who not even just loves, a casual person who casually finds Batman interesting, casually finds the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles interesting, well then this is kind of perfect for you, because you just get to enjoy both of those universes kind of crossing over and just doing what they do best, good versus evil. And you see, you see the evil being what it is, working together to try and take everyone apart, and good trying its best to save. Yeah.
9 on 10? Or sorry, what on 10?
You get kind of that campy story minus the camp part.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, pretty much. Yeah. My opinion on it is...
Hold on. My score is... Because I realized I didn't even give a score last time when we did... No worries. I didn't give a score for the last episode, so whatever, it's too late now. But for this one, I'm going to give it a 7. 7 on 10. Yeah.
All right.
Hit it, Topes.
Yeah, I'm not going to add too much because you guys obviously already said pretty much everything I'm going to say at this point. I do think, as someone who's more of a Batman fan and a Turtles fan, it took me a little bit to kind of accept that, okay, this is happening. But once I got into it, like you said, it's a very simple plot. It doesn't have the complexity of a Batman novel, which is good. because otherwise it would have just, I think I would have just stopped after the first or second issue.
Yeah.
If that was the case. So yeah, we are getting the best parts of both worlds, and this is kind of like R. Kelly and Jay-Z, best of both worlds. And with that said, I think my ranking for this one will, so when I rank these graphic or these comic books or whatever we're reading, I'm going to go by sort of type of story or type of story, type of characters. So I'm not going to rank this in the same universe as I'm ranking, or I ranked Moon Knight.
That's fair. Yeah.
I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Simply because it's a fun read.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's just like if I was to watch an action movie and I watch a comedy and I give one,
I would rate them the same.
Yeah, you're using the same scale, but your reasoning behind it is differently. And I agree.
It's different, right?
Yeah, this one, this is very different to the Moon Knight, and that we rate it differently and such. Yeah, guys, that's the second edition of That's Canon.
Amazing.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's been an amazing time doing the show for you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. But before we go, Dave, do you want to tell people about Squared Idea?
Yes, give out another shout out to squaredidea.com. The original founding members being Chris Nicholson and Mike Wilcox, two guys dedicated to bringing up or trying to connect people who do not have the regular resources, who want to be creative. So any artists who you don't have an artist, you don't know what direction you're going in, or you're an artist looking for a book to draw, that's why Squared Idea is around. So please reach out to us whenever you want. We have two books out right now. One created by Mike Wilcox being The Fathom, which is a very interesting zombie apocalypse story. And then me and Chris co-writing Trinity, which is essentially the police force of the underworld. Underworld meaning more like your classic monsters, werewolves, vampires, mummies, etc., etc. If you want to hit up squaredidea.com to check us out. Or you could also check us out on Patreon, which is a great website to find new emerging artists. I suggest to go to both.
Yeah. Toby, anything you want to tell the people?
No, aside from seeing you next episode.
There you go.
Nope, yes, we're good.
And then the usual for us, hit us up on franklinarmstrong.com. That's the website. You can check out Geektastic Cypher. That's our other podcast that Toby and myself are half of that team. There's also Jaws D and Skinny. And you can check us out also on Twitter and Instagram at @AStrongFranklin. And then you can find us on Facebook.com/FranklinArmstrongDOTCOM. And on YouTube, tinyurl.com/FranklinArmstrongDOTCOM. And finally on Vero now, where we will be putting up recommendations. So we'll probably put up this title if we can find it on Vero, because it's usually things that are on the system. But we will list this under our recommendations when this episode comes out, and you guys should check that out. Under Vero, we are Franklin Armstrong Collective. That's the show. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for tuning in to another edition. We'll be back next time. Peace, everybody.
Come on back.
Deuces.